Good morning, everybody. Morning, Matthew.
Hey, good morning, Teepa.
Hey, it's been a few days and more.
It has been, you're right. Yeah, since we've been on here together like this.
Yeah. So you've done graduation. You did the graduation party. You got Maddie all done and not out the
Yes,
door, but she's all finished up.
she is. Yeah. And then the final piece of it, which was the graduation party, that was the
Yeah.
the other big to
To
do. It almost
do.
felt my wife, I think, hit the nail on the head when she said it was almost like a wedding, planning a wedding.
Yeah, it is like that. Yeah, it feels like that.
It
Yeah,
really
I'm
does.
sure. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
been a long time. I don't miss it. I've got to say. I'm not missing that part. Cool. Well, we planned our own party here. It's called a certification course. And so we have folks in for the cert course. And I've met folks from Oregon, from Texas, somebody from up in Nova Scotia,
The Scotia.
Canada. So we have folks from around and about, and they're all here to become trainers or coaches this time. Next month, it's going to be champion teacher or engagement leader. So we're looking forward to folks come in, and you lead the whole certified community. So, we're getting the word out. And last week we did a webinar in the evening for our certified community talking about our concerns about drugging for convenience, medicating for comfort, but not the comfort of the person, the comfort of the people around them. And so people are like, well, so like, are you against all meds? And the answer is absolutely not. I think medications have a place in people's lives. And part of it is what I've always done with medications in the past. How invested, how much do I believe? How much do I care about? How much do I like having something for me?
Mhm.
And how much do I use that? And more importantly, why? Why are we doing this? And have we done everything we can and everything the system will support if people are not in favor of medications? Now, some people love medications, they love to use them. And then I want to ask the question. So that's the other side. So some people may not want meds at all. And we've got to figure out, okay, so have we done everything we can to honor that choice? But for people who like meds and are used to using a lot of meds, ooh, I want to make sure you appreciate what could and very well is happening with the meds when we start putting them on board now. So when we talk about the brain changes that come with dementia, we know that those changes are both chemical, but they're also.
Yeah. Also physical, also part of the structure. Yeah.
So when you start throwing meds at a brain that's changing, it's super important to know, okay, well, what's different about how that med is interacting for that person with that condition at that time compared to what might have happened if you gave it to a perfectly fit brain individual with those same other considerations. And it turns out it does matter in the majority of cases.
Mhm.
And what we find is people don't look at that all too often. And they don't offer people who are used to taking medications enough info about things like interactions, toxicity, about whether or not what you might be seeing is the actually exact opposite reaction you were hoping for, whether or not they seem to be working or not, how long would you take before you notice, what kind of side effects might there be, might they be significant side effects?
Now, wait a second, Teepa. They do tell people about that stuff. It's either the guy who talks really, really fast
Mm,
at the end of the commercial, or it's the
yes.
super, super fine print that's on that like multi-trifold paper that the pharmacist gives you or they give you to let you know what the information is, which is so super helpful that way, right, everybody? When it's like that.
Well, except that on some of these, they put a big black box warning. So you'll notice it that
Oh, yeah.
says this particular medication, if you're an older person and you have dementia, is extremely risky
Mm.
and actually dangerous. So, but it's sort of like somebody erased that message. And it's just, and that's what we're saying. Wait a minute. And for some medications, for some dementias, we're saying, let's take a pause here because we're throwing these things out like there isn't an impact. And there is. It'd be like sort of weighing somebody down with 50 bricks and say, okay, no, it's all good, walk around. And they have osteoporosis. Would that be a good idea, Matthew?
No, no.
Or we put their feet in lead shoes and we say, go ahead and walk. What could happen if you put lead shoes on for the first time? You've never had them on.
Yeah, I fall a lot. I mean,
What if
really
I
kidding.
loaded you up with bricks and then put sunglasses on you and put you in a dark room? What would happen?
Sounds like a good recipe for injury. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's where we're struggling a little bit with this latest wave of, well, just medicate. I mean, we've said it's an okay drug to try.
Yeah, it's been
And
pretty-
it's like, but wait, the way you got that data is actually, I'm sorry, but that's erroneous data. You have not done this, your job fully to figure out whether or not what you're seeing is actually a symptom of that dementia or a symptom of poor quality care, poor education, environmental stressors, lack of sleep, lack of this, lack of skill, lack of training, and lack of knowledge. So we're not prepared to say, yeah, go for it, when we know full well that people are not thinking and they don't know and they don't have skill. And that's where you see us going, absolutely not pause. We're saying stop, stop it, stop it. This is not okay. This is diminishing another human being so that you can do what you've been doing without looking at what you're doing, investigating, looking in the mirror at what's going on here and going, wait a minute. Have I done the best I can? Is the environment the best it can be? Is the care matching the need? And is the person's unmet need being met? Or is there something we are absolutely not regarding that we can do that could really modify what's happened?
You know, and the interesting thing about that right there, Teepa, is that much like medications, most medications aren't something that you can just give and you should see an instant change. You should, I mean, it should instantly do something. Even with this whole Rexulti thing, it says for sure, everywhere you look, this is not a PRN drug. This is something you have to give over time. What we're talking about too, about looking, being aware, looking for all of what's happening in environment, using your 6 pieces of the puzzle, that's something that takes time too. You've got to give that time. It is not something where you're like, okay, well, I tried that thing today and it didn't work. So obviously that's not going to work.
And this is a process. So we have 2 things that we train for. One, an emergency. Things are out of control. This feels risky. This feels dangerous. And, ooh, I need to do something in that moment. We train for that. How do you respond to an emergency situation? Not react, respond. How do you get it, whoa, back under control? But on the other side, we also train for how do you look ahead for potential issues and look at how you modify things so we never get there. We don't need to have train wrecks. We avoid the train wrecks by preparing ourselves, the track, the engine, the person. We believe in preparation, initiation, participation, evaluation, and then sustain or switch as a model with 5 Ps. That's what we believe needs to happen before a medication is applied. And we believe that nothing should be PRN except for something that maybe you get occasional headaches. All right, that's an emergency. If it's really debilitating you, take something, but then let's evaluate what led to that headache. What led to that happening? Because we have work to do. So I am not in favor of medicines. When they serve well and they aren't high risk, I think we should definitely consider them. Do I myself use a lot of meds? What do you think, Matthew?
I think you try not to, for sure.
I'm not much of a med person
No.
because I react fairly strongly to meds. So maybe I'm speaking ahead of my own self, but I've had some interactions with meds and they don't go well. So that's in my plan, that be real super careful about meds because I have a high reactivity and I'm fairly naive for meds. In other words, I don't have a lot of meds I've ever taken.
Yeah.
And be super cautious about me on meds because I don't tend to use them a lot. I have never reacted that well with them, and I overreact to many of them. So even if I have severe pain, often things like acetaminophen works for me. Ibuprofen can help me. I don't need something more than that. Back in the days when there was Sudafed, I'd take a Sudafed and I would be awake for 3 days straight. One Sudafed.
That's not helpful.
No, it's dry as a bone. My nose would start bleeding.
Oh.
I would have a horrendous headache because it would dry out my sinuses so severely and my mouth. So there you go.
Yeah.
So no, I'm not opposed to meds. I use and support the use of programs that use medication when medication is the right thing to use. My friend Melanie Bunn says for every medication, there's the right, there's the wrong, and all too often people aren't looking. So there we go. It's not really meant to be a rant. It's just one of those moments. I was over the weekend, I had another example of let's add another med. Let's add another med. Let's use this. And it's like the spouse decided, don't give him a daytime dose because he almost fell through the shower door. And she had to be the one to say, no, I'm not giving it to him in the day.
Wow.
And he's really experienced much less ability to initiate. We don't know what's what. So we're going to have to work with the provider to unpack this before we move forward. So frustrating. So till next time, everybody, take care with your care. If you have questions, if you have concerns, if you just want to talk, we have a free half-hour consult. If you get on our chat, you can chat with a live person after you get to the initial contact. If you want to email, you can ask questions in email and we'll get back. And if you want to just put a comment here, do that and we'll come back to it. Because no, I'm not a physician. I don't claim to be, but I do a lot of work with physicians and I've worked a long time with medical practices. And I'm here to say for every medication, there's a good, there's a bad, there's an ugly. And it's time to own up to it and start looking at the whole person, the whole picture, and the whole situation before we start applying something. Till next time, Matthew, thank you. Thanks to the certified community as well.
Yeah. Big thanks to them. Thank you, Teepa. Bye.
All right, Drew. Talk to you later.